Hey, Michael, what's going on over there?
Hey, Will, 1 or 2 bottles for the podcast today.
Can you make that 3?
Why do we need 3?
Because we are featuring a new winery.
Wow, that's outstanding. Hi, everyone. Welcome to We Know Texas Vino. This is Michael.
And this is Will.
Folks, today's podcast is sponsored by Texas Wine Club and
Texas Wine Lover app. So grab a glass and join us for a new and intriguing episode.
Could you believe that I actually drove by the driveway here today?
I saw you drive by. We were actually sitting here talking, and I see you drive by.
I'm usually a little better with directions, but I literally drove right by you. And when I backtracked, Eric and I backtracked, we saw you out there waving at us with Lisa and Rusty.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
Well, when I came up here, I had to slow down to see the mailbox. And I saw the address, and then I turned to the right, and I see the Vineyards. I'm like, oh, I'm here.
And you drive up the driveway. It's just gorgeous up here.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Well, listen, folks, welcome back. This is podcast number 19. Will, are you excited about that?
I can't believe it. We're at 19.
I know. Well, this is We Know Texas Vino, episode 19. And I'm Michael.
And this is Will.
And we're real excited to have you guys back. We're missing one of our cohorts today. Jen cannot join us, so just a shout out to our friend Jen, who is not here today. So Jen, if you're listening, we love you. I hope you're doing well. I know you're busy with wine stuff today in Grapevine, I believe.
Yep, they're doing Main Street down there today.
Main Street, that's right.
Finishing it up today. So,
that's right.
But we are out here at Breaking Bud.
That's right.
And literally, I just went blank on y'all's names.
Rusty and Lisa. Rusty. That's why Will, little treat. You always say it 5 times. You always say their names out loud 5 times.
Well, I have him saved in my phone as Rusty as well. Okay. And I'm like, literally, I looked at him and I'm like, oh man, I just forgot his name.
So famous podcasters make error. Yeah, error number 1 today. Good, we have an editor on that too. But hey, we're in Whitesboro, Texas. Yes. Is that correct? You guys were in Whitesboro? I want to make sure I was correct on that. And what county are we in?
Grayson.
It is Grayson. So we passed the sign Grayson, but I think I made that error last time. I was up in this territory. I think I called it a different county, but it's definitely Grayson for sure. But yeah, we're here at Breaking Bud. We're excited to be here with Rusty and Lisa. We're going to have a great time today. But hey, we're drinking something right now, you guys, and thanks for sharing some great wines. And I know there's some parameters on what you can do right now because you're a new, fresh vineyard. But real quick, what are we drinking?
This is Peak Pool Blanc.
Okay.
It's on 1103P rootstock. And it's been described to us as a lip stinger. That's what Peak Pool means in French. So it's a acidic, light, very citrusy wine, and it grows just excellent.
Well, it's super tasty. I'm enjoying it big time real quick. And then Lisa, not only did you serve us wine, you're such a sweetheart, of course, and you opened up your great home and your vineyard to us, but you made cookies as well. And these cookies, I'm staring at them right now.
And this is the first time since we've been on this podcast that someone made us cookies.
Or food.
Food, period.
But the cookies are great. I've had one. I devoured it. But tell us about these cookies real quick. They're pretty awesome.
Oh, they're just cowboy cookies. The recipe is famous by Laura Bush.
Okay.
It's on the internet. And the one I use is the half recipe because the whole recipe makes a lot more.
Well, Rusty said he'd eat them all.
He would, and that's not good for him.
I'll probably have a couple more here in a minute, but they're super tasty. I'm so impressed with that. And then just one, as we meet Rusty and Lisa, we're going to talk a lot about who you guys are, where you come from, why you're doing this now. That's going to be so exciting. But there's also, it's a special day for these two. Will?
Yes. So it's their birthday.
What?
Yeah. So both of theirs, not just one of them, but both of their birthdays.
So Rusty, real quick, you said that when you found out she had the same birthday, you just said, okay, I'm marrying that girl, right?
First date.
So we can say the first date. We can say the date because even though it won't be published or dropped on the internet, May 21. Happy birthday, you two
Thank
kids.
You.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Very cool. And we got the celebratory cookies here and a glass of wine and a podcast to do.
Yeah.
We're pretty excited about it.
Pretty awesome about it.
Yeah. Well, listen, we're here in Grayson County. We're going to have a great time talking. We're talking about this great area here. I want to get to that today because you have a beautiful property. It's just so fantastic. Yep. But before we get into nuts and bolts, you want to just real quick talk about our sponsors?
Yeah. So first off, we do, are y'all aware about Texas Wine Club? Or even the Texas Wine Lover app?
Yes.
Texas Wine Lover app.
Yes.
Okay. Absolutely.
So Amy and Jeff have done a fabulous job on there. And here's something interesting I just found out. So I was doing my day job and talked to one of the guys, and he actually tells me that there was a board game for winemaking. I had no clue about that. And then I found out there was a simulator game that you can play on your PC or your console for wine simulator. And I'm like, well, that's kind of cool. And so I posted on the Texas Wine Lover app. website. And Jeff goes, yeah, if you look on our app, you could actually find all that information on there. And I'm like,
who knew?
They've done a good job.
I'm like, I was like, right now I'm speechless because I would have never thought those were actually been on there as well. But it was kind of cool that their website has a lot of information going to the wineries, specifically only in Texas.
Just a quick note, that's not speechless. That was the opposite of speechless. You kept talking about it, which is good. I just want to point that out. But also, we have, of course, the great fellows down in the Fredericksburg region with the, of course, amazing club.
Yeah, the Texas Wine Club, which they actually offer. They do take the best of the best of the best Texas wine and put it in a subscription base so you can taste those wines to make you want to come and visit. And just so happens these guys are going to be up here in North Texas
soon.
May 25th, June 1st, and June 5th. And they're going to be doing tastings up in this area.
Nice.
They're actually coming up here and actually going to get some North Texas wine instead of Hill Country wine, which is amazing. And I think their first stop is Lost Oak.
Yeah. Oh, is that right? That's cool. That's a perfect place to be because of Roxanne out there. And she's amazing. That's cool. But it's a really cool concept if you guys haven't been into it yet. And once things really start getting at a little higher level, you guys will take advantage of that. I'm sure they're going to absolutely love you too. So very cool.
Yeah, we love Matt and Chad and what's the other guy's name? Josh.
Clay.
No, that was Chad. Sorry, Chad. I mean Clay.
We butcher that every time. All right. Well, and then we'll just real quickly, how do people reach out to us on social media?
So you can find us at Facebook as We Know Texas Vino. And then our website's coming soon. It's WeKnowTexasVino.wine.
That's right.
Yeah, see, I was blown away by the .wine part too. Jen introduced that to me.
That's all Jen.
That's cool.
And then you can find us on any podcasting application, Apple, Spotify, Amazon.
Yeah, we're doing really well. So thank you to all of our listeners out there. And we're really grateful for you. And of course, we want to just continue to showcase great wineries, vineyards, ownership, and all the people who are making something happen here in Texas. In fact, just our last episode, we were talking about what's really happening. Back in I think you said the 70s, France was getting a little nervous about Napa Valley. Well, guess who's getting nervous now? California's getting a little nervous about what's happening here in Texas. So we're pretty excited about what's happening in this region, especially in North Texas, which is where we're kind of highlighting most of the stuff we've done so far. It's exciting.
Yeah. And so I'm going to add one last shout out. One shout out. So last night, which was May 20th, was Lonesome Vine's first wine club pickup party.
Oh, very nice.
And I want to say a big shout out to everybody, and I don't know all their names, that actually recognized my voice from the podcast out there, and it felt great to be out there and be recognized. And shout out to Andrew and Christy for doing an amazing job for their first wine club pickup party. They just did a good job out there.
Very cool. Well, that's exciting for them. Well, guess what we're doing today? We're here at a podcast. So Rusty and Lisa, you guys excited? Yeah. They're kind of sitting over there like two little kids, birthday kids, having a good time. We're ready to have a good time. Well, real quick, Rusty, we're going to start with you, my friend, and just thank you for the invite. You've been nothing but hospitable since we've been here. But tell us about who you are, you and your amazing wife, why you're here, and what brought you to this, I guess, this avenue of your life.
Okay. But we do appreciate the opportunity. And by the way, we think what you guys are doing is really cool. We have learned so much in listening to the different episodes. So we think what you guys are doing is really cool. And we do appreciate you featuring North Texas vineyards and wineries. That's been a real education for us. Like we told you earlier, when we were out doing our shoot thinning, we have a big speaker out there in the back of the side by side, and we're just listening to your podcast.
That's really cool.
Awesome.
Those are kind words for sure. Thank you. That's
cool.
Awesome.
But so anyway, so I met Lisa in El Paso back at the beginning of time. And we were in college together, and I was an engineering major and she was a science major. And I graduated first. We moved out here to Garland to work for Texas Instruments. And so I did that for 35 years. It was great. Loved those people, but it was a day job, a desk job, I should say. And that was good, especially in Texas. It's hot and everything, but I really wanted to do outdoor stuff. I always had a big garden in the backyard, and I really was attracted to agricultural stuff. So in 2013, we started talking about retirement and what retirement looked like for us. And we knew we wanted to do something in the country because we'd always lived in the suburbs, and we wanted to do something agricultural, but we didn't really want farm animals because it kind of tied you down to a farm, and we wanted to do grandkid stuff and go see parents and stuff. And so we started looking around, and it was about that time that I heard the TV Munson story. I mean, I'd lived in North Texas my whole life and never heard the TV Munson story. And we were over in Grapevine at a work event, and I heard that story, and I'm like, I can't even believe I've never heard that story. And And then we started investigating it. And what we found up here in the Texoma AVA was a very exciting, underserved market. And one thing I learned in my years working was, if your market is crowded and there's not a lot of demand for it, you're out. But this is a area, this whole North Texas area, and especially the Texoma AVA is underserved, meaning there's not enough grapes to make the wine that people want to make in North Texas and Texoma AVA. And so that got to be exciting for us. And then when we read in T.V. Munson's book, he called this area, Denison, Texas, a grape paradise. Does it get any better than that? A grape paradise.
I've not heard that before.
That's really interesting. Okay,
check out the book.
That's awesome.
And he was a horticulturist, viticulturist that you've heard the story. He saved the European vineyard and wine business. Well, he created all kinds of cultivars and rootstocks and things like that. And for him to call it a grape paradise, that kind of resonated, with us. And so Lisa took advantage of the great educational facilities out here at Grayson College.
Nice.
15 minutes from here. Of course, we were driving. She was driving from Garland, so it was an hour and a half.
Okay.
Every Saturday and Sunday, and got a great education on the viticulture and enology. So she got certificates in both. I like to say she's the brains of this outfit. I'm labor.
We knew that immediately, though, Rusty, when we met you. So
you know that. You can tell. But anyway, so great educational resources in this area. We met Michael Cook, who's the Texas A&M AgriLife guy out here. Everybody loves him. He knows everything there is to know about grapes, and he's very personable. He did a lot of site visits with us. And that was so helpful. He could take one look at a site and say, nope, this isn't for you. Or,
that's amazing.
Wow.
Like the water on one site had too much boron in it. Who knew? He said that they'll grow for like your vines will grow for about 4 years. And whenever they really get to start producing, the boron will make it where they can't uptake enough nutrients and things like that. And they'll die. The actual vines will actually die.
So can I just say, did he recognize that right out of the gate? I mean, he recognized that was happening right in that.
He did. Well, I sent him the water report, the lab report, and he was just like, no, move on.
Wow.
I don't care how nice the house is.
Wow.
This will be a game changer for you.
Well, he's a great resource then, isn't he?
Yeah. And then the other great resource, two other ones. One is Fritz Westover. If you guys haven't met him, you need to meet him. He's a viticulture consultant, essentially is what he is. But he does a lot of it online. So it's called Virtual Viticulture Academy.
Yes. And he's here in Texas?
He's in Houston. But
he is?
He's been all over. He was in Texas as a AgriLife guy, and then he was in Virginia, and he was in California. But he's a wealth of knowledge and information.
We'll have to definitely get his information in and get him
plus
on there.
He's a fun guy. He did a pruning seminar up here at the Hartman's, and it was like 28 degrees, in Texas at 28. It was brutal. But he's taught us a whole lot about every aspect of viticulture. And but so when we saw a great place to grow grapes and lots of educational resources, and an hour and a half at the most from our grandkids, that kind of hit the home run for us.
But so you said 2013. Is that kind of when you found this property then, or when did you find this property specifically?
Well, so one of the things
why is Lisa laughing?
There's a lot of laughing.
This could be a Lisa question. I don't know. She's giggling on that one.
We looked for a year and a half. We would spend time looking online at properties that were coming up for sale, and there's a website you can look at the soil type, and we had our parameters, and if we found something that would work, we had a realtor friend that would get us on the property, and Rusty dug 29 percolation holes where you dig a 36-inch hole with post hole digger.
Okay.
You fill it with 8 gallons of water. You wait 24 hours, come back the next day, and if the water's down or gone, that's good. If it's still in the hole, you walk away.
Okay.
And we did that, and we learned how to test the pH of the soil.
Yeah.
And looked at 29 different properties.
Wow.
And then
that's extensive.
I was getting discouraged.
Were you?
And because it just seemed like we kept looking and looking, and then one Sunday we got home and looked online, and this one had just been posted. In fact, we called the guy that was selling it, and he said, "How did you find me?" I mean, he had posted it an hour before. And
wow.
Rusty was talking to him and said, "We want to come out and dig a percolation hole." And he said, "What percolation rate are you looking for?"
Wow. This was perfect. This was meant to be.
It kind of was.
He's the only person who recognized that term of all the ones that we had run into. So we knew something was right then.
He worked for the USDA. And so we came out and, it was a hard balance between looking at a property for its soil and water and all that and not just falling in love with it.
Right.
And this one was really hard because I really, really liked it. But we dug our little holes and did all that, and it came back great. And we were able to test a neighbor's well water because the well wasn't here yet. And everything was lining up, and we started negotiating with them, and we bought it that summer of 2018.
Okay, 2018.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Very good.
And then I retired at the end of 2018.
Perfect
We moved out then.
Well, it all came together almost like a harmony, right? Something happened. There was meant to be that you two are here, but everything worked out.
It was amazing.
In so many ways. We could tell lots of stories of so many ways.
Podcast number 2.
Yep.
How many ways things worked out for Rusty and Lisa?
Finally.
It's funny is talking about that. Everybody who decides to go from the city to the country, that's what they end up doing is trying to find that perfect harmony land. I like to call that. And all of a sudden they find that one that has that perfect harmony for everybody, and they jump on it.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, so it all worked out. And so 2018, things started to come to fruition. Yes. And so you had this master idea. Rusty, when did you think or know, or maybe it was a conversation between the two of you that you wanted to get into this business?
Oh, that's a great question. I kind of put my toe in very carefully, because I was working full time and I had a pretty responsible job, and I knew I was ready to be done with that. But like on weekends, I would volunteer at different wineries or vineyards, or I did some stuff with Grayson College. They were doing some planting of some different cultivars, and as I was doing that, it just got into my blood.
Oh my goodness!
Eden Hill. I got to know the vineyard manager there. Great guy, Michael Steckley. He's down in the Hill Country now, but he let me work in their vineyard for free, and so it worked out good for him. Worked out good for me, and I learned how to put these end posts in. I learned how to do gripples. I mean, I never even heard of a gripple before.
I don't think I've heard of one until just now, actually, a gripple.
So I actually worked on a ranch, so I know what a gripple is.
I do not know what a gripple is.
I hate them.
Okay. That's Rusty. Yeah, he's laughing too. So a gripple, I'm writing that down. It's
a mechanical diode. Just look that up. You'll know. But as the more I got into it, though, the more people I met, it was the people really that drew us. And like I said, the underserved market where things are happening, there's a big draw, a big demand, and we got to get a little data. The crush report from USDA was talking about how the Texas grape growing was increasing each year over year.
Sure.
And then when I noticed that North Texas was growing very much, that really kind of cemented it for us.
So that was it. That was kind of the cherry on top. You knew there was something really great potential here with what you were thinking.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. It's always great to hear people like, when they come out here and they start to kind of dabble in it, and they're like, I kind of like this. And then they get into it head first, and you're like, oh, wow, I didn't realize all this.
You just described yourself, Will. I mean, Will is a whole history lesson here of him kind of getting into wines, and now your passion, not only for podcasting, but just for growing grapes and really getting into that. It's really kind of fun for us to watch.
Yeah, it's fun because I'm learning as y'all are learning. Yeah. But see, y'all have had the college. I haven't had that yet. So
yeah. Well, Lisa, we've heard so many great things about Grayson College. I mean, this is our 19th podcast. Would you say half of the podcast?
I would say almost half, if not over more than that.
Maybe like 60% of the winemakers and the ownership.
Oh, been there one way or another.
Participate. So tell us about that experience and just how much it benefited your focus on what you're trying to accomplish here.
Yeah, it was, it's adult education. So it was on weekends, and it was wonderful for networking and meeting people. And a lot of people that we've met, like you said, we connect through Grayson, and it was a great foundation for figuring all this out because, you start off, you don't even know what questions to ask. And it's a lot of learning, but you have to start somewhere and have this wonderful foundation of saying, okay, now we can do this and this and this.
That's really cool. And so how long was that educational process? Was that a year long or is it shorter than that?
So for me, it was 2 years. Okay. It just depends on how many weekends you're willing to go to the classes. Right. I think when I took it, the classes were divided up between 2 weekends. It was a full class. So it's just kind of what you can fit in.
New grandbabies too. So you were.
I was a little busy.
Well, we've established that you're the brains of the operation, right? And so, I think we can all agree. There's 5 of us here at the table today. I think we've established that is in fact the case, and the cook of the family as well. So, what does your day look like? And we'll start with Lisa. I mean, you've now jumped in. I mean, you said you put your toe in, Rusty. You have jumped in. You are swimming in this amazing adventure. So, what does a day look like, and how excited are you to continue this saga?
That is a great question. The days depend largely on the time of year, the season, and what we're doing. Right now, we are in the middle of young vine training, which means we get up. Early is subjective, but try to get outside before it's too hot. And we work in the vineyard, and we're cutting vines and trying to lay down what will become trunks and cordons and the parts of the vine. And it can be hot and sweaty. And usually by about noon, I'm saying words like I'm done. And we go in for lunch, and sometimes Rusty will come back out and I'll say, I'll come back out after dinner.
Well, it's just too hot. You're in North Texas for crying out loud.
It is
so
hot
I imagine
and sweaty.
A lot of people do that. Yeah.
There's not a lot of shade in the vineyard, so it depends on the day.
Yes.
But we've had a few very nice, cool days, and we just keep working until you do something dumb like cut your finger with the pruners. And anyway. So right now it's working in the vines, and I like to mow. I am the mower of the family.
I love it.
We have a
brains and the mower.
Oh, I love mowing. I think it's fun because you can see where you've been and
accomplishment. And
it's something I can do that frees Rusty up to do other things that I can't physically do. Some days we spray. We get up a lot and say, okay, today we need to. There's a long list.
Well, I think we've talked to several wineries that say we have a long list. And then when they get up, they add more to that list, and they realize that list is too long to accomplish for one day. But then you got something that trumps something else that you was going to get scheduled that day.
Yeah, we've had a few that have run into that, right? Where it's just like they're getting overwhelmed at times, but it's calendared. I mean, this is a really nice process. So you probably learned that at Grayson. Now you've learned it after a couple of years of doing this.
We're singing that song big time.
Oh, all the time.
And so one of the things I think is really important for our decision of what we're doing is we decided to do one thing.
Okay.
Do it well. Do one thing, and that's grow good grapes.
Yes.
Grow great grapes. We initially thought, well, we could grow grapes and do a winery. And then I got to reading and finding out how much work that was. And having a winery is great. It's a great thing. And I'm so glad that there are people that want to do that.
Yes.
But that's a lot of work. It's a lot of expertise, a lot of money.
Yep.
And a lot of work. You have to have a lot of customers. With a vineyard, you might need one customer, a small one like this. You might need 2 customers at the most.
Yeah.
So you really can not focus on the marketing, but focus on the growing.
You are the farmer of this equation.
And that's what we want to do.
Yes.
We want to be the foundation for great wines. Okay. So we've talked at length with the Hartmans at, Red River Wines and Provisions. They're 3 miles. I keep pointing over here. They're literally 3 miles. I know I'm not on TV here, but
that's all right. We'll simulate it for you.
Put it in the show notes. That's why.
There you go.
They're literally 3 miles from us, and we talked to them at length, and Fritz as well. What makes good grapes? What are the practices that you need to have? You got to plant the right grapes, the right rootstock, and all that. But then there's shoot thinning, there's leaf pulling, there's fruit dropping. I couldn't even believe you cut fruit off of a vine. After all this time and money, you're trying to grow grapes, and now we're cutting the grapes off, and that's to get the right balance.
Right.
It's all about balance. Right. And so we're doing those things, and so we want to be the supplier that enables the wineries to make really good wine.
They
and
can
get the
thrive.
awards.
Wouldn't it be the ultimate compliment here in a couple of years if you have several wineries saying this is where we got our grapes from? I think to me, like we're hearing a lot about the Bingham organization, the Bingham family, and all the that grape community out there that's doing great. But I think that would be an ultimate compliment, and you could just sit back and drink your own wine and just say, "Yep, that's what we did. That was our accomplishment."
Well, you hit your head right on the nail.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we want to do.
That's beautiful. And so that's your goal. That's your mission. That's what you're accomplishing here. So I think it's great. So right now, describe the property we're on. If I could just, I wish we were on YouTube. I wish we kind of did.
Well, that's coming soon.
But this is such a beautiful property. When I drove up the driveway, of course, I saw these two smiling people right here and some big goofy bald guy. That's Will. And but I was just immediately infatuated with this property. I just love the vineyards. I love the trees. I love the grass. I don't know who mows that now. And I love your facility here. But so what are we looking at? Describe the acreage. And then what is the vision here in the next few years? Are you going to
want to do
expand?
the soil description?
Yeah. So one of the first parameters that we were looking for was a sandy, well-drained soil. And we found that as we went farther west from I-75, the soil got sandier and sandier. In Dallas, we have a heavy black clay soil. You can grow grapes in it, but it's different. And so, there's a lot of iron in the soil, and we have manganese nodules that we're hoping will impart some kind of special taste to the wine.
Say those words again for me.
Manganese nodules.
Wow. I will research that.
And so we're looking primarily at the soil. So the soil profile is great. It's in the Woodbine Formation, in our waters from the Woodbine Aquifer. And we're on just shy of 10 acres. Mm-hmm. And it's a great size to take care of.
We've gotten more into soil than I would have ever dreamt.
That's true.
So when we've actually augured 2,900 plus holes out here. They're 9-inch deep, and they're 9 inches wide and about 15 inches deep. And so you can, after you spend all that time seeing it come up, you can tell what's clay or what's sandy clay or what's sandy loam. And we got an interesting mix out here of the 3 different soil types.
Interesting.
There's clay.
And so the clay, it doesn't drain as well,
right?
And so sometimes that's good. It'll hold water but in the drought periods, and of course sand, it pretty much drains.
Right. But you guys hit the mother lode. Then it sounds like not only is this property beautiful, but the soil. Then Lisa, it's more than you expected. You kind of hit the jackpot.
It's what we're looking for. And interestingly, what we found out is it's soil that people who raise horses really value. And so we're kind of in the middle of horse country. There's a lot of horse farms right around us. And we kind of felt like, oh, here we come, growing grapes.
Well, that's so cool because we learned, didn't we? Well, I mean, I actually bumped into this a year ago. I had a conversation with a fellow, and he was telling me about why this is such a big horse community. It was the sandy soil that's really good for the colts. And then we went and did a podcast, and she actually raised horses, and she said that was the reason. So it was Lisa. Yep. And so what we did is we were kind of putting it all together now. It's also great for growing grapes, of course. And so this community is going to be really thriving here. And just driving through Gainesville, my wife and I, we were talking, we did some research the other day about kind of the Gainesville has kind of, it's maybe not that socioeconomic where it was even just a decade ago. It's just some tough times, but maybe this enthusiasm is going to kind of uplift that community again.
Well, you can see sandy soil in Grapevine, Texas, right? You've seen those vineyards right off of, I can't remember what that is, 121.
121, yes.
Yeah. And we saw those 25 years ago, 20 years ago, whenever it was, and wondered, how are they growing grapes here? Well, now we know. We did some research and saw this finger of this sandy soil right up through North Texas into Oklahoma, and we're right in the middle of it here. And that is a big part of the success of growing grapes.
That's so exciting for you guys. I'm really actually kind of proud of you guys for recognizing that. But also, as this podcast gets out, I mean, maybe that'll inspire some other folks just in this region to really get aggressive with that.
So you say this is 10 acres, correct? The whole thing is 10 acres. How much do you have actually under vine right now?
4 acres of vines. We've got 2 acres of Pic Pool Blanc, and we're done planting, by the way. So if we do a little dig
Lisa just did a backhand
for now.
Oh no, we're done. Except for replacements.
I've heard that before. We're done planting. The next thing they said
heard that before.
Yeah, we've had that many times before. We're done planting. And the next thing you know, they said, within the next year we planted another 1,200.
That was probably the most genuine response we've had from anyone. Lisa kind of gave it to us straight.
Well, so we've learned there's a lot of talk about how much can 2 people deal with
Right.
for a vineyard, without added labor. And if we have to add labor, any profit we hope to make is gone. So we really want to be able to do it, just us. And
cool.
And I'm in my early 60s now, mid 60s. I'm a little bit higher today.
I'm 29.
Yesterday. Happy birthday. birthday kid.
She's being honest.
Yeah.
I married a youngster.
young pup.
But so I want to be able to manage this, as I get older. So
Yes.
we were hearing 4 to 5 acres. We've got 4 acres on the ground now. And I think this is what we can manage.
That's a good. That's
That
good
sounds
knowledge.
good.
That's kind of
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah,
That's
because
good to know.
I thought about that. How does a couple do it, and the hired hands, and just finding good help, right, is
Yeah.
always a challenge. So
You
that's a
have to
really
train.
interesting.
You have to
yeah.
train
You
people.
really have to train
Yeah.
it. And
you want to run well.
Grayson College is, putting people out, and they have
Interns?
internships.
Yes.
We want to be a part of that. We got the paperwork the other day
Nice.
of how you do that. And it's a matter of getting to know these people. I was going to say young people, but some of them aren't so young.
Some of them are so young. That's right.
But, and they have a good foundation to start with, and then you start training them to what you want. But anyway, that was our focus.
That's awesome.
That is cool. I
Yeah.
like that.
And so you guys, to me, it seems like we had a pretty mild spring this year. How has the temperature affected you folks so far this year? And am I correct? Has it been relatively mild? Is that good or
Yeah.
bad for what you're trying to accomplish?
It's been great. It's been the best spring we've had so far. Last year was brutal. Just hot, dry,
Early
all
hot,
that,
wasn't it?
Yes.
Early hot.
Ice, and then
And we've had
extreme
late
heat.
freezes.
Yeah.
We've had freezes in the middle of April, and when you're all excited about seeing your little shoots growing and everything, and then you come out in the morning and they're just drooped over, pointing down. They look like limp asparagus.
Right.
That's a bad feeling.
That's a hurtful feeling. It hurts the soul a little bit.
Yes.
That's where you go out there with the electric blanket and you cut them up at night,
Is that what you're doing at your house?
I tell you what we do a lot of times is we have this group of 7 other vineyards and wineries, and we kind of commiserate,
Sure.
in group text or whatever. We have little tastings where we get together and talk and kind of, buoy each other up,
We uplift each other. It's right, because we heard just even last week that sometimes just down the road one will be hit pretty hard, whereas the other one doesn't. You really have to be supportive. It's a supportive community.
Yeah.
That exact thing happened here earlier this spring. The Hartmans are up here 3 miles, like I said, and they had a tornado touch down in their vineyard, and we had a little high wind, and that was it.
That's interesting.
But everybody scrambled together and went over and helped them get their their line posts back up. And,
Very nice.
And then they could finish their pruning. So it is a term. We were talking about this earlier.
Yes.
This term that a friend of mine who lives in Canada told us about in the early days of the Ontario viticulture quality area.
Wow.
Not AVA.
It's their equivalent of an AVA. But he was involved in the early years of that, 25 years ago, whatever. And he said they had a thing called co-opetition instead of competition. It's where everybody cooperates, the different wineries and vineyards. And that's where we are now. We're in this where everybody does want everybody else to be successful because it rises.
It does. It elevates
everybody.
the entire cast for sure.
Yeah.
So how many people showed up to help after that tornado? Would you say there was a dozen people?
Just
Or
in that ballpark.
That's wonderful.
It's in that range.
Oh, that's great.
And, me and my son went over there, and there was a guy from Dallas, that came up. He's a somm, but he loves getting his hands dirty, and finding out about it. And so it was a good thing. It made us feel like, if something like that happened to us,
Right.
It's reciprocal.
people would rally around us.
For sure. That's
in my experience, just in the short stuff that I've been learning and hearing about them having a tornado hit there, I mean, it hurt. I mean, it kind of made me, I'm not going to lie about it. It kind of made me tear up a little bit because, I mean, you put your heart and soul into that. Those are like your kids now, because you're watching them from being infant to a full grown, and then something like that just comes in and just wipes it all out,
right.
It's installing in posts like what we have out here. In posts, they're 10 feet long posts, and they're 42 inches into the ground at a 60-degree angle. That's not easy.
No, it's not.
I didn't realize they were so big. Yeah, that's amazing.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you think about having 38 or 39 plants in a row, and they get all this big heavy canopy, and they've got all these lines, these metal wires, holding them, and then you have a strong wind, like a 60-mile-an-hour wind crossways. That's a tremendous load on that impost. So you got to get it in deep.
Okay.
You got to get a good, nice diameter. A lot of people do metal posts, but we elected to go with wood.
I see you have the wooden ones out there. Yeah, that's really cool. Much more attractive in my book.
Yes. Well, that's what Michael Cook recommended. Okay. I wasn't smart enough.
Shout out to Michael Cook again. He's an amazing guy. Yeah. Well, you guys have some great vines out there. So, Lisa, one of the things you said to me, it cracked me up. I wrote down a note, is you have some misbehaving vines. So tell us about the misbehaving vines and what do you mean by that? And which ones are behaving and which ones are not behaving?
So one of the great pieces of advice we were given was to start small, make your mistakes small. And so we started with a test vineyard of 10 rows. And we have 3 rows of Pic Pool Blanc, 1 row of Albarino,
2 of Morvad.
2 Morvad, and 4
Syrah.
I hope that math is right. And the Pic Pool Blanc was a roll of the dice. We didn't know. Nobody was really, Krista had a few. No one was really growing it out here. It's grown really well. And it grows up straight and kind of does how you train it. That's well behaved. Albarino grows every which way, all over the place. Last year we got 138 pounds off 38 plants, and we got how much?
400.
400 pounds.
Same number of Pic Pool Blanc.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's a big difference.
For more work on the Albarino, you got less output, less production.
That doesn't, the equation that doesn't work out.
Well, it's because it's misbehaving, right?
Yeah.
So the cluster of Albarino would be about the size of your fist.
Okay.
A cluster on Pic Pool Blanc would be like 3 fists. And the berry size is much larger and a lot more juice and all that. And that's our experience. Maybe people have a different experience somewhere else, but and the Albarino, like you said, was going every which way.
Would you say it was like Phoebe from the Friends when she runs or something like that?
Yes, it's how Phoebe runs.
Phoebe for all the Friends
it just
bands
grows.
out there.
It just grows everywhere.
Yeah, that is awesome.
And the Syrah's been slow. The Morvad is well behaved. The Morvad has grown really well. We planted Syrah as our red. We kind of wish we had gone Morvad, but Syrah's a known producer in this area, so we went with that. And so we continue to call it a test vineyard and try things out and, learn.
Right. Which is cool. And so you guys really just have a different philosophy than some of the ones we've been to, right? You have really been specific and intentional about what you're trying to accomplish here. And I think that's really, I just admire it big time. And so, as we start to cast the vision, I know we're not putting any more vines in and that sort of thing. Who's buying your grape? Do you guys have good relationships with people who've already kind of made commitments about the future for you guys?
Yeah, it's the Red River Wines and Provisions, Hartmans, Scott and Krista.
Is that Hartman?
Hartman.
Okay.
And they have helped us so much in getting our feet here. They allowed us to prune in their vineyards. Not everybody lets you prune in their vineyards. You can mess up the vines big time. But they showed us what to do, and we learned so much from them. We planted in their vineyards and kind of caught the vision. Yeah. From them. They're probably 4 years, maybe 5 years.
I think 4 or 5 years ahead of us. Yeah.
And so it's been a great learning experience from them. But
Absolutely.
We were with Edge of the Lake. We've harvested with them and bottled with them, and the same with Eden Hill. We got to harvest with them several times and bottle. So.
You have a great, it's a group of people, or you guys are all on the same page for sure.
Yeah.
And I think even we were down in Fredericksburg region, it's just such a cool community. And maybe you guys can comment on this. I'd be happy to hear about this, but we just think it's a different vibe than California. We've all been to California. My wife and I have been there several times.
I've been to California.
It's awesome. And it's wonderful community, gorgeous community. But there's just something, I'm just going to say this, a little more pretentious about those folks. And here I am getting this vibe of complete cooperation, understanding, helping each other. We're looking at a vehicle right behind us right now. We'll share equipment. We'll share. In fact, you were jokingly talking about this tractor park next to us, and he's like, "Yeah, just you need to find a trailer to bring it down to your place and get things leveled out, right?" And so there's something about the vibe. Maybe you guys can real quick talk about your experiences so far. You're obviously super happy to be in this region, but just add to what we've already talked about. What's going on here with this cooperation?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to describe it around here, the cooperation instead of competition. The finding suppliers was way harder than I thought it was going to be. and that's for things like fungicide. And I mean, who knows where to go look for a fungicide, right? I mean, Home Depot don't carry what we use.
I would go into a shoe store.
Exactly. And so suppliers, and so we got a lot of suppliers from the people that I mentioned earlier. And then whenever new people have come in, it's been my joy to help them with, hey, here's who I use for this, for different suppliers and for in posts like the Mayberries, at Rancho Sereno, they found a new place to get line posts. We all
nice.
Several of us went into together to get these line posts, and we got them shipped here. And so we spread the shipping costs out, and so we share suppliers, we share labor. We go help each other. Most everybody has been here to help us plant. We're done planting now, but we certainly going to need help harvesting. And that was one of the main reasons why we thought it'd be good to do this.
Let's recruit. Yeah,
let people know what's happening. Yes. And we had 60 people this last year come out and help us plant.
That's
60
amazing.
people. I mean, it's over 3 days. So
still, that's fantastic.
I mean, I had no idea I knew that many people.
And just getting to know you guys, you probably cooked a nice meal for them and spoiled them rotten and played our podcast and cookies
that was
galore.
There were a lot of cookies.
That's awesome. That's so cool.
And we're going to pay you in cookies, nothing else.
Well, I'd do it for cookies.
Well, so one of the things is, we don't sell wine, but we want to give bottles of wine away when people come help us with stuff like that. We did a T-shirt this year. It's got it's got that logo like on this bottle here, and we're going to do some other T-shirts and just fun stuff like that.
Very nice. Yeah. And Breaking Bud Vineyard. Yes. Why did you guys pick Breaking Bud?
That's a great question. Whenever we first started reading about vineyards and things like that, we kind of got this image, in the wintertime, we would drive by these different vineyards and see this gray, dormant, not very romantic, view. And then whenever the bud started to break, it was just like a flood of green in the vineyard. And we see that now. We've seen it for 4 years now.
That's so cool.
You have this gray, dormant, dead, like, is this coming back? Is this really coming back? And then usually about March 15th to March 25th, you start seeing this little hint of green out in the vineyard, and the next day it's doubled, and then the next day it's quadrupled, and it's a flood.
Life,
so we say it's a sign of hope,
sign
like
of hope.
The Easter, message, that there's new life, and it happens, and it's a glorious thing every year. So
I love that description. That's really fun.
Yeah, I really do like that.
So that's Breaking Bud.
So when I was researching you guys, and again, you guys are pretty new, but the first thing that came up was bud breaking. And I got this classical description of what that means. And I'm like, no. I wanted to get Breaking Bud. But it was cool that I actually bumped into that because it gave me great perspective. And what you just described solidified it all. It was really well done. Yeah. And so Lisa, you kind of giggled when I said that. You kind of had you have a fun laugh, by the way, but you kind of giggled when I say, why Breaking Bud?
That a lot.
You kind of laughed a little bit. Is there something else he left out that you want to talk about?
Oh, we talked about names for a long time. We clearly discuss a lot. And I wanted Woodbine because I'm kind of a rock nerd, and we had the Woodbine formation and the Woodbine Aquifer, and we kicked that around for a while. And then one day Rusty came home and said, what about Breaking Bud? And I was like, ooh, I love that.
Okay, all right.
So
it almost went the other direction, and then
could have.
Rusty had a light bulb go off, and he's like, let's look at this one.
Well, that's kind of like when we try to come up with our name for the podcast here. Michael's amazing wife.
Well, you got to build that up better. You and I were throwing things out there. They were lame.
Throwing things out. Stuff we were saying out there. We're just like, it just didn't work.
I gave my wife over here, sitting to both your left over there, and I gave her a glass of wine, and she came up with this great name.
So
excellent.
We give her credit for that.
Yes.
But trying to come up with a name for anything, it's hard because you want it to be a very rememberable name. And something easy for everybody to say. Because if it's too hard, they're not going to remember it.
Or even social networking. We've run into some people who had a tough time with like this big, long name. And then it's like, how do you remember that? And then also you guys have a great label now. Who designed that? I mean, the brains or the brawn?
Our daughter.
Oh, your daughter.
We've got a creative daughter. And we gave her some ideas. And she came up with this vine. So you got a vine here that has a wine glass right in the middle of it. And then on one side is a bud breaking. And then our real name is Breaking Bud Vineyard and Apiary. And so there's a bee flying out of the other side. And when we saw it, we were just like, yeah.
That's perfect. And so she nailed it. She knocked it out of the
I didn't even see the glass on it until you just said something else. I just saw the vines on it, and I didn't even notice the glass until you just said something, and I looked at it and was like, oh, okay, I see it.
So interesting, the people that see it, what they see.
Yeah.
Because we've heard all kinds of different, like a menorah. Some people say it looked like a menorah. The deer hunters among us, that looks like a rack,
When I first saw it, that's what I thought, but I had to look closely. But it's the interpretation, and that's actually kind of probably the fun part about it is when you're out there, showing people and showcasing. Then it's like, okay, good interpretation. That's fun.
Yeah,
that's exciting. So now you guys have a great property here, and we could definitely, my wife can come hang out here, and we got some kids who'd like to run around, see your swing over here. That's probably for the grandkids, granddaughter
right there.
I love it.
Are you going to pawn off your 25-year-old?
Well, I might not. I was thinking I might come do some swinging up there. That'd be fun. Are you going to open this up to tours, or can people access this? How do they communicate with you and find you? And what is your goal for maybe opening this up for a tour?
So right now, our plan is to grow great grapes.
Okay,
we're not going to open up to do things like that. We do want people to come experience the vineyard experience with us.
Yes,
in harvesting now, and we'll probably have 4 or 5 harvests this year just because of vines coming ripe at different times. And so that's really the best way to experience what goes on here.
Yes.
In the future, could we open it up for tours or something whenever people are coming to nearby wineries? Could they stop here and see? We're open to that kind of thing, but we really want to narrow our focus, be good at that one thing, and not get too
Did you say
diverse.
You're an engineer?
Yes.
I noticed that just now. That's very, very specific, but that's what you want. That is your goal and dream. And I was thinking even kind of having like a tour for pruning and bringing people in. We were talking about that tour,
I was about to make a comment on that. So have a tour and actually this is part of the tour, and actually give them a pair of clippers and have them go out there and do all that.
But they commit to like 3 hours.
Yeah, and teach them how to do it and say, okay, this is how you do it. And then next thing you know, they've been here 5 hours and happy harvest.
Yeah.
So quick story. Michael Cook does pruning seminars at different wineries, and we were at Arcade, I think. And I went to one. I was in school at the time at Grayson, and he was talking about pruning. They tell you how you can mess up the vine. I looked at a vine for 30 minutes and didn't touch it. I didn't prune a thing because I was like, what am I going to do wrong? And it's taken a long time to learn how to prune.
Okay. So I think we could teach people how to rough prune.
Oh, rough pruning is easy.
Rough pruning is where you take everything but 18 inches, off of the vines. All this wild stuff that's grown all year, you can cut way up there and get it out of the way and not damage the plant. But that last little bit is very technical. And we still, all of us that are on this group text, we still talk to each other about, well, how do you do it whenever you have this situation, or it's pretty technical. So I'm not going to have anybody touching our vines in the final pruning area for a long time. Unless we've really trained them, or unless we get really desperate.
That could happen.
Yeah, well, injury or something. But it could be an educational point down the road as well. Yeah. That's so cool because I knew that, but I didn't really know how really meticulous you have to be with that last part of pruning.
It seems like we've had to learn a lot of concepts about grape growing, and then you have to go apply them to individual vines, and they're like children. They grow every which way. Everyone's different. So that's what's hard, is I might talk to the vines. What have you done today?
Do you think you deserve some water today?
Why did you do that?
Talking to their vines. Start naming every vine. Yes.
Oh my goodness. That's
Billy
funny.
is not behaving today. Billy the vine. Yes. Awesome. Well, that makes a lot of sense then. So listen, last words. I mean, you guys have done something special here. You should be really proud of what you're doing. I know it's a lot of hard work, and you guys have such a pleasant attitude about it. I'm really, it's kind of an exciting way to retire. And I think you said out in pregame, you were really bad at retirement. Someone said, I think Rusty said that. Maybe Lisa said it.
That's what our realtor told us.
That's her realtor told us.
Most people retire, into the easy chair and stuff. And I work 10 times harder than I used to. The people I used to work with will probably agree, but I work way harder now than I used to. But I'm loving it every day. I love what I do.
Well, you said you have fresh air. Right, you've got your property, and you're accomplishing something significant, and so those are really
so
great
playing
things.
the dirt still too,
and playing in the dirt, get dirty, and there's some days that I see more hawks than I see people.
Beautiful.
And I'm not saying people are bad, but I love seeing the herons. We got a pond over here, and we see herons and
well, if we just listen real quick, Rusty. I've been listening to the sounds as we go here, and I've heard different types of birds. I'm hearing them now, and probably on the podcast you'll hear a little bit about that. And we've seen a few things fly by, but it's a beautiful area.
Yeah,
we're just loving it, and we're only 3 miles from town. So if the kids got to have a Happy Meal, we
gotta have a Happy Meal. Yeah.
Run over there. Yeah. But there are many weeks where we don't get out. We go to church on Sunday.
Yep,
and then we have a little ministry thing we do on Thursdays and Mondays. But other than that, we may not leave the property.
Wow. That's exciting.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
We got caught up in a traffic jam in Whitesboro. It was 3 cars in front of us, and I was like, "What's going on?"
Stress. That is major stress.
And then I remember, it was like
Dallas.
Like, oh, dude,
Whitesboro just turned to Dallas.
Yeah, right.
Right.
That's great. Well, and Lisa, any final thoughts that you have? That you're proud of your husband. You've done a great job here. Anything else you want to share with us?
It's just been a great retirement. We've learned to work well together, and it's been fun. It continues to be fun.
Yeah. Are your children excited to come help? How's that working out? And grandchildren, I know they probably would love to swing. But
when we first started talking to our kids about this, they were like,
they thought you lost it.
Who are you? And what have you done with our parents? There's no way, that you guys are going to like that, or good luck, that kind of thing. But they've been totally supportive, and they come out here and they plant with us. And for our birthdays last year, they each gave us most of a day of work instead of a present. We were so far behind on pruning, or not pruning, but
vine training.
What a perfect gift on your birthday, May 21,
we
right?
came in and had wine and cookies.
I would work a day for lots of wine.
Shouldn't they be doing that every day, not just on your birthday though?
That would help.
They probably have their own careers and their lives.
Yeah, last year it was our very first harvest, and the Albarino had ripened. So they all spent the night, and we got up at dawn and came out and harvested the Albarino as 1 row. So by the time everybody was hot, we were done. And then we have beehives, and so we harvested honey for the first time.
Oh, that's really cool.
And it was so much fun.
Yes.
And everybody had a good time. They were really tired, but it was really fun.
But no one forgets days like that, right? No one ever forgets a good day like that. It's a beautiful day. Yeah.
Okay, I want to touch on the beehive thing.
Oh, yes. We haven't really
So
touched
how
on
many hives do y'all have out here?
7.
Seven.
Yeah.
And
so it's for tax evaluation. Is that what it is?
The special ag valuation.
Yeah, it's for your ag exemption. Okay. And most people have cows or something like that.
Right.
We have bees. And it has been a fascinating thing to learn how beehives work and how they make decisions and things like that. And we've had every disaster that you can imagine with bees. Every one that you ever read about, we've had it. But now we've got 7 functioning hives.
Let's say functioning, working.
Yeah. And 4 of them have honey supers on it, which means we're going to get honey from them. And, and so here around the 4th of July, we harvest the honey, we take them off and we freeze them. And then when the kids come out, then we can extract the honey. And it tastes awesome. We've got, what's the name of this tree over here, Lise?
Oh, the persimmon tree.
Persimmon. I always say pistachio.
Persimmon tree.
Persimmon.
Like 2 weeks ago, that tree down by our house was buzzing. You could hear it. If you stood under it, you could just hear the bees in it. And so the honey has this little taste, persimmon taste, and it's awesome.
Well, that is really cool.
And I was actually going to ask, are you using the bees for the grapevines?
No,
not at all.
Science teacher. Let's science.
Let's say science over here.
Grapes are self-pollinated. The wind pollinates them.
Okay.
So we almost never see bees in the grapevines. So they'll fly up to 5 miles away for blooms. And so there's lots of flowers. This spring has been wonderful for the wildflowers. And so no, they're not related. It was just a county requirement. So we're compliant with that. And
that's cool. And I've always loved that science anyways, the bees, right, Erica? The bees. And so we think that's pretty fascinating. And we love honey. In fact, she just made some muffins the other day with
my
honey.
favorite thing about honey is getting the honeycomb and eating the honeycomb with the honey on it. It's like eating bubble gum.
Yes, that's great stuff. So after we get done here, we have some jelly that we made from the Albarino grapes.
Oh.
I want you guys to try. So it's not just wine that you can make from wine grapes.
Oh, wow. That's
jelly.
the first we've heard that. I mean, I knew that happened, but that's the first time.
You're the first winery
that's very
done
cool.
that, yeah.
We'll definitely try that.
Yeah.
Well, good. Well, any last thoughts, you two? Rusty and Lisa, you guys are a fantastic couple.
No, we just appreciate you guys thinking about us. We're not the typical,
Right.
guest that you have, because we're really not trying to get people to come out here
Right.
every day,
Right.
or, a couple times
Just
a week.
the Hawks.
But that's right. But we would like for people to come out and enjoy the experience of
Right.
harvest.
Okay.
And just keep an eye out on our webpage. On our Facebook page.
Okay.
It's Rusty Malden is where I post. I have a Breaking Bud Vineyard page, but I haven't really done a good job of keeping up with it. But you can find them both; they're connected. So
And it's Mauldin. Is that correct?
correct.
Malden.
Rusty
Okay, I
Malden.
wrote down as a note here. So Rusty Malden. That's great. Well, awesome. Well, we're going to do some education here in a minute as well,
Yeah.
Will. And we appreciate Rusty and Lisa. You guys have been kind with your time and feeding us and giving us wine. We're always grateful for that. And it's just been a great experience for us. But folks, for our listeners, this is a great location here. This isn't, like Rusty said, a location just to come hang out and drink wine. It's kind of a working relationship, but you build a relationship with these two people. I'm sure they'd be grateful to have you out here so often doing some pruning or some harvesting.
we would.
Yeah.
Well, we're excited.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Yeah.
that would be great.
Well, listeners, follow suit and let's get out here. Okay, so Will, any last thoughts before we head to our education?
No, actually, I'm really thankful for y'all letting us come out here, and as you said, we're not just about doing the wineries. We're about anybody that has anything to do with Texas grapes, Texas fruit, so if you're just being a vineyard and you're selling your fruit to another winery, we're all about it. We want to come to you because, without y'all, we don't have wine.
Yeah, and we'll brag about you guys big time. So let's go ahead and turn this one in. We'll be back with education here in a moment.
Yep.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Howdy, Texas. This is Erica, Michael's wife, and a fellow wine enthusiast. I hope you are enjoying the We Know Texas Vino podcast as much as I am. Will and Michael are doing a fabulous job highlighting our local wineries and tapping into the knowledge of local growers. Fill up your glass as we dive into our educational segment for this episode. Salud.
Hey, welcome back, everyone. We're having a great time here with Rusty and Lisa and Erica over there in the corner, too. And, of course, this is Michael and Will.
This Will.
Yeah, this is Will. We're having a great time. So we're going to do some quick educational thing here because we want to honor these folks' time. They have a birthday today, and they have a birthday bash they're heading to, so we're going to take care of that. But
That wasn't supposed to be a surprise birthday bash.
no, I hope not. I hope it wasn't.
So much for that.
Yeah. So, Rusty, we're going to pick your brain real quick. Earlier in our episode, you had talked about shoot thinning, and I am aware of what that is, and I've read some books on it and different things. But can you, because it's such a meticulous thing and it's such an important part of what you're doing here, can you real quick describe what that is and why does it need to be done?
Okay, yes, I'd be happy to do that. Shoot thinning is essentially whenever you're going through a vine and taking out those shoots, those growing first year or this year shoots, and taking out the ones that are non-essential. You want to direct all the plant's energy to the fruit-bearing shoots and not to the ones that are not going to bear fruit or to overload the plant. So typically you two-bud a vine in the early spring or the late winter. That means you leave two buds either on a spur or down on the trunk, depending on how old it is. But a vine doesn't know any better. It just starts sending all these shoots out. Right. And when you go into shoot thin, you're taking out all the ones that you don't want, the non-essentials, and you're keeping the essentials.
Oh, interesting. Okay. And so I kind of have a vision of that, right? You can see it just like growing randomly, and you have to be very specific about which ones you're taking away, which ones you're leaving.
Yeah.
How do you determine that?
That's the ones. That's where your education part here really helps. So to know which ones you want. You want the lower ones, typically lower on the vines, but you want the ones that will be fruitful, and so you can usually look on there and see where the clusters are.
Okay.
And if there's clusters, grape clusters low and in a certain area, then those are the ones you want to keep.
That makes sense.
And the ones that are just sending out leaves and stuff and not any clusters, you don't want to keep those.
And they're not fruitful, so they're just leaves. And then how do you do that? What kind of tool are you using for
this
that?
this is really an important part. If you do it early enough, like in April, and you really can't go off the calendar. You have to go off the phrenological age of the big word.
Yeah.
Wow, I may not even have said it right. It might have been phenological.
We'll ask Lisa later if that was correct.
Yeah, she's shaking her head.
Good. She gave me notes. Yeah.
You have to go by the age of the stage of the vine, because like this year we're at least 3 weeks ahead of where we were last year at this time.
Okay.
So you can't go by the calendar, but you just don't want to leave the shoots that are not gonna help. And so where I was headed was that is if you do it at the right stage or right phase, you can just break it off with your finger.
The way you were getting
clip it off.
You were building up to that, Rusty.
Yeah.
I wonder if you could just break that off
You
gently.
can break it off easily, and what you'll do at the right time will take 2 minutes of vine. If you do it at the wrong time, will take 20 minutes.
Interrupt
per vine.
2 to 20 minutes because
Yes.
Interesting.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. And that's where we are right now. We kind of missed it. This is early. We're earlier in the. It started earlier this year, and so it just kind of all happened that we were doing other things, and we realized, oh my gosh, we missed that key time.
Wow.
And so now we're untangling a bunch of vines, and we're cutting tendrils and doing all these things.
Okay.
It's
So there's the 20 minutes then.
That's the 20 minutes.
Gotcha.
That makes sense. You're great at describing things. There's like 3 times damn I can completely see it vividly in my mind.
Well, and it's learning myself on this whole thing. I'm going to have to probably start doing that pretty soon with my little
will.
vines,
Yeah.
because I've got clusters already growing on my Grenache. So I'm going to have to prune those off.
Yes,
And then when
pinch those off.
Yeah. Oh, I can just pinch them off. Okay. Then I guess I'll do that when I get home.
So let me do a wrap-up question now. This is the wrap-up question to kind of bring it all together. So folks who neglect this responsibility, what happens to your vineyard? It becomes just a
Lisa's over here.
tangled mess of weeds and a catastrophe?
So what happens is when you go to prune in the wintertime, you're making a lot of pruning cuts to train the vine to be one trunk and 2 arms and the spurs. And pruning cuts in the winter are where infection can get in and hurt the vine. So you have to spray. So you want to minimize pruning cuts during the winter.
Interesting.
And if you can do it when they're green and supple in the spring, it's different.
Okay.
So
Well, that's huge. I mean, that makes sense. So you want
That's
to really
amazing.
take care of that in the spring because it prevents the hard work and the possible
Yes.
contamination from infections and things that these vines are getting. We're learning about that. So
Yeah.
it's a twofold. That's why you want to get it done at the right time.
That's very interesting, and that's what this whole podcast is about.
It is. That's why.
It's about learning.
Did you just learn something?
I just learned a lot.
You
of
two
stuff.
are awesome. Thank you. We can probably sit with you because you both have very scientific and engineering minds. So I can see why you're successful at what you're doing. But that is awesome. So take a little page out of their book, right?
Yeah.
Would be successful.
A couple pages,
Do it.
anyway.
Well, good. Well, thank you for that,
Yeah.
Rusty. I appreciate it. Lisa, you're amazing. So we're going to kind of wrap it up here with a few things. So, Will, real quickly, just review our sponsors once again. Let's take care of those folks down there.
We want to thank you, the Texas Wine Lover app, for sponsoring us, and
They're awesome.
TexasWine.com.
Both of them amazing.
Both of them are amazing apps, app and a subscription service. So go out there and, especially on TexasWine.com,
Yes.
go out there and get 50% off your first subscription.
I just got an email from them today.
Oh, you did?
I did.
Yeah, if you use the promo code We Know Texas Vino, all one word,
Yep.
you get 50% off
For
your first
order.
shipment.
That's pretty amazing. Cool.
Yeah.
Yep. So we're excited to have those partnerships, of course. But I just want today to really give the accolades here. But Rusty and Lisa Malden, thank you for letting us visit your
Yes,
phenomenal
thank you for
property
inviting
here.
us out
We're
here.
so
Thank
excited
you.
about it. Yeah. We're just having a great time, and we could camp out there. Happy birthday to you. Hey, there's my singing voice. Happy birthday to you. Sorry, folks. That was really bad. So I'm going to finish up here, Will. Well, let's do our takeaways first. Will, what was your takeaway from today?
My takeaway is, you don't have a dream that's too small or too big to accomplish.
Wow. That's like profound. I'll be thinking about that all night. That's
the
good,
most
Will.
intelligent thing out of my mouth all day.
Okay, my takeaway is maybe a little more elementary, but to me, we have met the greatest people in this industry. I'm so impressed with the humans that I've met doing this podcast, and you two are just such a great example of just having a passion. You're horrible at retirement. I'm gonna back up whoever said that. You guys
You're a good example of
really
not how
suck
to
at
retire.
retirement. But what you're doing here is awesome. It's a family legacy. Your family is so proud of you. We're proud of you. You're doing something awesome. My takeaway is why not? Why not do something you're proud of? You have a science background. You have just a wonderful attitude and disposition when it comes to doing something like this. So my takeaway is just another great couple doing something really special in North Texas.
Yep.
Right? Yep. Okay. Well, I was finished with a quote, and I have a quote here, 2 quotes actually for you guys today. I hope you enjoy them. I kind of just finished with quotes. I don't even know why I do it. I just started it. But my first one is the word winegry. It's an adjective. A state of anger over a lack of wine, causes irritability. Okay. And my last one is a quote that I believe in wholeheartedly, and that is, a day without wine is like ... Just kidding. I have no idea. So from a beautiful place up here in Grayson County, and we are in Whitesboro, Texas.
Yes, Breaking Bud.
Yep. Breaking Bud Winery. We're super proud of these folks. This is Michael.
This is Will.
This is We Own Texas Vino. Have a great week.
Cheers.
Cheers.